Today, inshallah, I want to give a short talk on staying firm in faith during festive seasons. And I'm going to keep it short, much shorter than usual. Maybe keep more time for Q&A, inshallah. In any case, I want to begin with a few principles. The first principle is, and I think this is important, it's the principle of knowing the reason for these festivities. So the first principle is staying strong in your faith is to know the reason for these festivities. And it'll make things easier. A lot of people, especially a lot of ignorant Muslims, they're like, yeah, I'll maybe join in some Christmas celebrations. What's the big deal? Hang out with people doing Christmas, doing New Year's, whatever, doing Easter. What's the big deal, really? It's just celebration. But the reality is that they don't really know what's behind all that, of course. So it becomes easy to get into that stuff if you don't know what's the true meaning. And as we all know, the true meaning of Christmas is, or at least the original meaning of Christmas is celebrating the birth of Jesus. And in Islam, we don't celebrate birth. In fact, in Christianity, neither. Celebrating birth was originally a pagan ideology. Historically, it was always pagans, meaning mushrikeen, who celebrated the birth and death and kept these as like constant dates to celebrate. That was introduced into Christianity. And if you want more details about this, you can go see my lecture on YouTube. It was a YouTube live with the Sunnah initiative called The Reality and the Origins of Shirkmas. So more details are available for those who want more detail. But at the end of the day, what does all really mean? There are two aspects to Christmas. So I'm speaking more about Christmas because, we're in the time of Christmas right now. But the same goes for New Year's Eve to a certain extent. The first aspect is the religious aspect. So, it's the belief that Jesus was born, but of course the Christians go further than Jesus being born. They say Jesus is also the Son of God. So they say Jesus, the Son of God, and to a certain extent also God, because they believe in the Trinity, was born on this day, which is the day of the Christmas day, right? Which of course, that's already debatable. There's evidence to suggest that Jesus was never born in winter, actually. But that's another discussion. And of course, we know as Muslims that this is very problematic from our point of view, because they celebrate it as the birth of the Son of God. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an, in various places, that He is far removed from having a son. Naam. That He is far removed, and this is a huge statement. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَنَّا يَكُونُ لَهُ وَلَدٌ. From where would Allah have a son? Okay? In what world does the creator of the universe have a son? Why? Because He is Vadi'u samawati wal ard. He is the creator, the originator of the universe, of the heavens and the earth. Okay? So attributing a son to Him is a big deal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, Subhanahu an yakuna lahu walad. Lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fi al-ard wa kafa billahi wakila. Now Allah says, far removed is He from having a child or a son. And He owns everything in the heavens and the earth. And Allah is sufficient as a wakil, meaning as as the one who takes control of things, as the one who is master of the universe. So this is a big deal. This is shirk to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a son. So when you know that the origins of Christmas is the Christian belief of shirk, then of course as a Muslim it'll be difficult to wholeheartedly participate in celebrations where people say this and people believe this. The other aspect of Christmas as well is the commercial aspect that includes, Santa Claus, reindeers, all these things. All these things are also originally based in pagan belief, in mushrik belief. So when you know the origins of these things, then it becomes difficult for a Muslim who has a minimum amount of faith to wholeheartedly participate. If he participates, it's because there's maybe some pressure. Could be family pressure, could be societal pressure, but no Muslim does this willingly when he knows the reality of what he would be celebrating. So that's the first main principle. The second main principle is that Muslims during these festivities should act and should be just like as if it's any other day. Meaning, and this is how you navigate festivities like these, by living your life as you always live it. So, for example, because certain things, become like doubtful and so on and so forth. So that's when you realize, am I doing this because it's specifically for Christmas, or am I doing this because, I'm just living my life. So, for example, if you are invited to a family dinner as a revert, for example, and this happens to many reverts, including myself. If you are called to a family dinner, are you, and is this a Christmas dinner or is this a dinner because everybody gets together in these times? Will they be celebrating? Will they be worshiping? Will they be doing rituals? All of these are questions to be asked. All you have to do is live your life. Okay, I'm just invited to a dinner. Okay. Usually I would respond yes. So if you usually respond yes, you go to the dinner. Unless, the dinner is problematic because they will force you to do things and so on and so forth. So that will depend on the situation. But your mentality has to be, I'm just living my everyday life. And the only things I will not do is things that are specific to Christmas. If they only call me for dinner on Christmas, then maybe that's specific and maybe that's a problem. But if I'm called to dinner every now and then, and it happens to be on Christmas, because it's a time where people get together, okay, then that could be different for you, because you are not specifically celebrating Christmas, and you are not going because it is Christmas. You are going because you are invited to dinner. So it's just an example to say you are just living your everyday life, okay, as if there was no festivity. If festivities affect you, then, of course, that is not your fault. Meaning that if, for external reasons they affect you, they affect your life, that is not your fault because that was not intentional. So you didn't intentionally participate or you didn't intentionally seek out. And that is the difference. Okay, so we have to be aware. How do we navigate? We navigate by not intentionally seeking out, participating in festivities that are problematic with Islam and so on. The third major principle is that one of the ways to help navigate our faith during these times, or to keep our faith strong rather, is to also take our own festivities very seriously. So how do you motivate a child, a kid, who sees all of his classmates celebrating Christmas and taking it very seriously, and the whole family gets together and they have a tree and they have presents, and they have songs and they have this and that. So how do you think that kid feels when Eid times comes along and nothing much is going on? We go to prayer and he'll just come back home and happy Eid. Maybe do some extra stuff, extra activities, but that's it. So, of course, that will be very difficult for a child. That will be very, very difficult for a young person. And that may even be difficult for you because you're not gonna have the same emotional attachment to your own festivities, and you might want to join. You might have some emotional reasons for wanting to join, or being open to other festivities because things may look fun, because things may look social, and so on and so forth. So one of the ways to counter those feelings is by taking your own festivities seriously. So we should really make Eid like Christmas in the festivity sense, in the celebration sense. The way people take Christmas seriously, we should take Eid seriously. There's this famous meme, well, actually, post that kind of turned into a meme of Mohamed Salah, the Liverpool football player, soccer player, where on Christmas everybody dressed up. He posted on Instagram, everybody dressed up, his whole family dressed up. They had the tree, they had this, they had that. It was like this whole big thing that he prepared and made a picture of that. But on Eid, he was just like wearing a shirt and he posted Happy Eid, just him wearing a shirt, and it's almost like goes to show, well, you take Christmas seriously, which is not even your religion, but you don't take Eid seriously. So of course that's going to create problems in your own family in regards to how they are maybe attached to these certain festivities in comparison to Eid. So we should make Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Akbar a big party basically. We should have no problems in being motivated to, for example, give presents to our children on that day. For example, to have extra celebrations on that day. And whatever celebrating means, people celebrate differently. Okay, as long as it's halal, of course. And we should have no problem in making Eid a big deal, so that when a kid sees his classmates doing Christmas, he'll feel like, okay, well, I have my own version of Christmas, my halal version, which is Eid, of course. So that's it for the three principles, inshallah. I'll open up the floor for Q&A. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. تفضلوا. If there's any questions, inshallah, you can go ahead. And if there are no questions, that's fine as well. So somebody asked, I understand for Christmas, but what about New Year? So New Year is the same concept. I believe I also have a lecture on New Year that you can search on YouTube. Similar concept. New Year is originally a Roman pagan festivity, celebration. That's not even our calendar. So it's really similar concept. So we don't really celebrate New Year's. On New Year's Eve, you just live your life, as a regular, normal person. If you happen to go outside and people are celebrating, well, that's not your fault. You're just living your life. No. So sister asks, what can we do? What can we do if culture around us is so fitting about celebrating and sending our goodies, wishing us? What should we respond without being disrespectful? So this depends on the situation. If people can understand you, they know you're Muslim, they know you have different beliefs, then you can be open about that. You can just say, well, thank you for your well wishes, but I don't celebrate Christmas. as a Muslim. It could be a opening for da'wah. Just always try to say things in the nicest way possible. So you have to be nice about it. These are for people who you think will understand you, or who can be open to you having different beliefs. As for people you don't think will understand you, whether it's family members or other people, then you can do what we call tawriya. Tawriya means to say something true, but the other person will understand it differently. So, for example, if for whatever reason you fear that this might be a problem, if you're like open about it, it's going to be a problem. Then you can say the truth, but say it in a way that the other person will not understand it in what you intend. So, for example, if somebody says, Happy Christmas, Happy Holidays, you could respond by saying, in those situations where you think it could be a problem, right? Not for all situations, but in those situations, you can respond by saying, Happy Vacation. So, or have a good vacation. Is that wrong? Well, no. It's a vacation time. People are off work in general. People are off school. So there's nothing wrong with wishing people that they have a good vacation, that they have a good break, for example. Nothing wrong with that. Break is very general. Doesn't, it's not specific. It's nothing specific about Christmas or New Year's here. Of course, the other person may not understand it like that and may think that you're speaking about Christmas, but that's not a problem. Because at least you didn't lie. You told the truth, and they can understand it whatever way they understand it. So it depends on the situation. In situations where you can be open, you should be open, and in situations where you fear being open, then you can kind of beat around the bush and say things that are very general and could be understood. Basically, could be understood in different ways. So that's what you should do, inshallah. Somebody asked, honestly, I never understood us having a different calendar. Well, why should we follow their calendar? We have, our calendar was made by the Sahaba. Was implemented at the time of the Sahaba, at the time of Umar. No. So, we have our own calendar day. We're not saying the other calendar is haram, but we're just saying, well, we give more importance to, we should give more importance to our own calendar. We can follow other calendars as well, but ours is more important because it was implemented by the Sahaba. As for the Christian calendar or the Gregorian calendar, who was it implemented by really? We don't even know. So at least we know the origin of our calendar. We know that we understand why and how it came about. As for the other calendars, it's not always clear. Okay? It's not always clear. So we understand that the Gregorian calendar is a Roman-based calendar, a sun-based calendar. But once again, how the way it started, and does it really count well from the start of Jesus, and so on and so forth. So there you go. I'm not too sure about that, but at least I can definitely tell you with proof about our own calendar, every element of it, how it came about, how it was debated, why it was chosen, and what year, and how it could be proven to be correct from the start of the Hijrah. Now, okay. Jazakumullah khairan to all that are here. I really appreciate it. I don't know if there's any more questions. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all the brothers and sisters who attended, that are here asking questions and debating and discussing here with me. I really appreciate it. And I like it when things are interactive. And inshallah, we'll speak soon in upcoming durus bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan jami'an. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.